All right, so guys, agenda that we want to do so everybody's on track. We're gonna go for about 30 minutes. I got some real strategic questions, and the questions, Jay is an expert around the blueprints of billions. Would it be cool if we asked, I know for some of you this is a really big, wide open perspective. I mean, some of you just want millions, but we want to talk about billions. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
So I think it could open your level of framework to think, because I mean, how will you ever get there if you never even think anything is possible? So we're going to go for about 30 minutes, and if I could get it to work out, we'll do some pictures. If I can't get it, then we'll just manage those pictures tomorrow, and we'll get either some group shots or something. Sound good?
Yep.
All right, excellent. So Jay, the first question is, it's all around blueprint to billions.
Okay.
Is target a high growth market where customers are frustrated with all generic competitors. So talk about how would they go about tapping into those generic competitors for, I guess, market domination or market growth.
Okay. Well, the first thing, okay? You hear it okay?
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing is, what, if anything, do you even know about your competitors? I mean, when I work with a private client, the first thing I ask is, tell me the intelligence you've got on your direct and your indirect competitor. Direct means people doing exactly what you do, but a lot of problems can be filled by many different products and services and alternatives. And I want to see what people do, how they advertise. I want to see what their value propositions are. I want to see what happens if you contact them, how they deal with it. And then what you want to do, go to a review site and see what people are saying, positive and negative. Because we have that Amazon.com. I don't need to explain it a lot. You can explain it to them, or I can if you want.
I can explain to them.
Explain to them. But basically, you want to first of all get a real feel for what people are happy about and what they're frustrated about. And you want to sort of be able to go sort of granular. You want to see within the range of a broad service or product where are there niches that people are really frustrated, because you can own some niches that you don't even know exist. And once you go there, you can build out from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you can't figure it out if you look for. And I'm not making fun of religion, but you're not going to get it by divine intervention. You're going to get it by doing the work, by letting the marketplace tell you. But the first thing you want to know is who's out there, what are they doing, how are they doing it, what are they doing different, where are they weak, where are they strong, what happens. You want to have somebody call and see what happens when you call them. You want to see if people are frustrated and say, oh, they didn't come out, they didn't do this. So you can have propositions that counter whatever the felt need is or the frustration. But if you don't know what the frustrations are, I can say, okay, find the frustrations. Well, if you don't know how to do it, that's a sort of a Pyrrhic victory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does that help, or is that confusing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of people, maybe some of you in the room, when you become warriors, they say to me, look at my new brand. How's my new brand, my truck? And I say, how can I answer that? What does everybody else's truck look like in the market?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, you mean everybody's plumbing truck? And I said, no, not everybody's plumbing truck. I need to know every truck that's got market share and gets eyeballs. I don't know if it's
Perfect
UPS,
to
the
say, yeah.
landscape, the pest control. I need a market. And what we do is we teach everybody how to produce a big board. And they say, I got to get everybody's truck. And I say, you got to get everybody that means anything to you. And then we look at the board and I stare at it like the witches of the Clash of the Titans.
I love it.
I look and I say, where's the hole? And then the second thing I say, well, I mean, what is it even got to look like? What do your customers want? Because a lot of people, they say, well, I'm going to put a guy on my truck. Well, do your guys, do they like a guy? And then some people, you ever see these guys, they put a dog on their truck. And I don't know, does a cat lover hire the company with the dog on a truck? Or someone who's allergic to dogs, do they hire the company with a dog on the truck? There's a lot of criticalness there. So what Jay is saying is make so much. We always start with market intelligence. That's how you win.
And today you got it. It's all public.
Yeah, it's quick. You're going to love this strategy, and then I'll get to you in one sec. I'm going to share this with you. I've only shared it with the Centaurians that are in the room. I made a strategy that I believe is so simple and so cool. I pick, you pick 5 or 10 of your competitors in the market. Jay started the lead to this. I'm going to tell you what I do with it after it. You look at their bad reviews, because that's what people don't like about them. Then you create your social media of the opposite of their bad reviews. This is a brilliant strategy, everybody. So they say, oh, this company, they're a ripoff. Well, my next social media post is the 12 ways to make a good decision on buying so you never get ripped off. Now, I don't have to connect the dots for the competitor, the market. The market connects the dots for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Right.
And so, like, it's such great. And then, of course, make sure you don't suck at it. If you know what I mean. You don't want to be the same thing at it. What they do good in their good reviews, I say just be better than that. You had a question?
Yeah, aside from reviews, are there survey companies in order to find out what the frustrations in the marketplace are?
Yeah. I'll tell you what we did. Every year we took our top 10 competitors and we mystery shopped them. One, we wanted to gauge of how good we were, right? 2, we wanted to know, are they actually doing something that's better? And I didn't get to ask it in there. It was a question I had, maybe tomorrow. I never wanted to do anything anyone else did. I wanted to do 20 times better than anything else they ever did. So I would say the question I told you the other day, oh man, this is really good, Jay. This company does customer service really good. If there was a way to do it so much better, so much unique, what would that be? And then we would trump it. But here's the thing, and Jay taught me this stuff, guys. That's why he's here. The thing I always did is the minute I launched a strategy, I started building the next strategy.
That's right.
Because otherwise, the competitors copy the damn shit.
They are.
Quick.
But here's something pretty funny that you probably would not think of, but it's super logical. So you could hire a high school, college kid just to drive around after school and look at all your competitors' trucks in people's driveways, and then go to their houses after and say, hey, I'm a competitor, but I'd love to know, why'd you buy from them? I mean, just ask them. I mean, it's funny when people, they don't think about how much obvious opportunity is right in front of you.
We used to have, our guys used to pull up, and there would be competitors there. I said, congratulations. This is like Willy Wonka's golden ticket. This is amazing, I said. Go in there while he's in there, I would say. What are you waiting for? Knock on the door, introduce yourself, and just tell the customer, look, I realize you have him out. Looks like a really nice guy. Get all of his information, because pretty chances you're going to wish him well, but we're going to do work with you. And then you just go into it. And that's it. And our guys would love that, because we train them how to do it. A lot of other companies, they run away from that.
Yes.
Yeah. Another question would be good if we dig into something else. Yes? Are you numb? Good? Because I made it warm in here for Jay, but you guys look like you're blacking out. What do you got?
As far as mystery shopping, is that just purely the call, or are you actually trying to then also get them out?
I mystery shop from literally find them their marketing,
Yep.
to the phone call, to the dispatch, all the way through the whole transaction. I've also mystery shopped our own guys. That's going to come up, so I don't want to spoil that. We'll talk about that in there. But when you mystery shop the people, I would pay for the actual service fee to have the company out. Now today with these rent-a homes you could do, the Airbnb.
Yeah.
You guys could just rent a person, a sister-in-law, say go to this house, and send texts there all the damn day long from different companies. And if you're smart, you won't just do your industry. What Jay said, you do a pest control come in, and you're going to go, and that was really cool what that guy did from pest control. No one's doing that out here. Appliance repair, call the insulation guy. Have a party the whole day. Just have it all day long. Make sense? All right.
Great. I love it.
Let me dig another one here. So processes. Design best class processes that deliver on your value proposition at a profit. So that's a couple different questions in there. So why don't you talk about value proposition first? How do you raise the perceived market value, or maybe what you call maybe the preeminent value?
Well, there's a certain concept called preemptive marketing, and I'll start by it's long, but you know the Schlitz story?
No, go ahead.
You don't know it?
No. I don't
Okay,
think so.
it's a classic, but this is the father of preemptive marketing. This was the great story that's told about him. So there's a man who years ago was the father of direct response marketing. He was the father of lots of stuff that I emulated, borrowed, with acknowledgement. His name was Claude Hopkins, and he was the father of preemptive marketing. Preemptive marketing is being the first to denominate, educate, and lay claim to powerful processes that ascribe to your business or your product dimensionality and depth and meaning way above the implicit abstract part that other people would have. So the great story is about Schlitz beer. This is long ago. So right after Prohibition, there were tons of beers being made in the United States, and all of them ran ads that said, our beer is pure, our beer is pure, our beer is pure. It was a declaratory statement, no support, nothing to delineate. It was all basically generic. So Schlitz at the time was number 9, not doing well. And they called this guy in. So he goes to Schlitz, which is in Milwaukee. And what's Milwaukee? Is that Lake Michigan? What's in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so he comes there, and the first thing he does, this is when Lake Michigan was very nice, not when all the lakes are dirty and filthy. It was very nice. So he gets out of the car, and he sees that 500 feet from the lake bed, or from the lake shore, they have 2 artesian wells 5,000 feet deep. And he goes, well, why do you have those? You got water here. He goes, we have to have a certain kind of water that has a certain mineral and purity. Then he walked inside, and they showed him the mother yeast cell. If you don't know what the mother yeast cell, it's the result of 14, in their case, 1,400, and I think 28 different experiments to find the right piece of yeast that had the right balance of sweet and tart, biting, bitter, everything, and that's what everything was made from. Then he went to the distilling rooms, and they had 9 feet thick plate glass windows, and in between they would take the same artesian water, and they would basically they would vaporize it, liquefy it, vaporize it, liquefy it, something like 5 times. And he said, I don't get that. And they said, even though it's got great mineral content, there's certain impurities we have to purge out. Then they showed the bottle cleaning room, where they sanitized the bottle not once or twice and not one way or two, but 9 times. One was 3,000 degrees steam, one was chemical, I remember all they were. Then after all that, they took him to the bottling plant, and when he went there, even with all those elements, they still rejected approximately 1 batch out of every 10. So he takes the tour. And he's incredulous. He's just outrageously impressed. He said, this is incredible. And the guy said, well, that's the way all beer is made. And he said, but the world doesn't know it. The first person that tells the story is going to get preeminence. I had a client that was in the very high-end handbag and shoe business, and they were selling expensive handbags and shoes that everybody could sell. But we chronicled the fact that everybody else who was in that business would go to 35 different fashion shows. They'd walk up. I calculated the millions of steps, the miles, the rooms they slept in. It was the same thing as anybody, but we told the story. And they would look at maybe 10,000 samples to find the 3 or 4 or 5 or 20, which everybody did, but nobody told that story. And they would only buy pieces that had 3-dimensional pure silk stitching, but everybody did that. But I told the story, and they just did fabulous because it ascribed to them this. Does that help?
Yeah. And I want to share something.
Also, we did the education of the people too. Same thing. Maybe everybody's got a PhD degree, but if nobody tells it, you say, we've got 3 people that have their doctor's degrees, and they had to spend this, and they've written 57 papers, and they speak. If everybody's got the same, but nobody tells it, who gets preemptive advantage?
Yeah. And so where are you not telling the story? Think about that. Yell out a couple things.
All of our certified techs, the class time, the hours that they had to go into, the continued education.
The equipment.
And where will you share that? Maybe on your website, when you go to the website, there's a video. And maybe the video shares the story. Do every one of your CSRs, people that answer the phone, do they know your company story? I bet some of them don't know the whole story or they
No.
forgot, right? And all your technicians, is there a flyer in there where they say, you know, Mrs. Jones, before we get started and walk through the house, let me tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about the company. And then what about the product story? Let me tell you how this product came apart. Maybe you don't know that Lennox been around for hundreds of years and it was made. It's like Jeff Bezos. Maybe you didn't know he built it in a garage, or Harley Davidson in a garage. So now that's so great, Jay. What he
It's
just
very
shared
powerful.
there, yeah.
And you talk about the diagnostic equipment. We have diagnostic equipment that is within 99.9% accurate. So it's not just what our technician says. You'll see the result.
Yeah. Jay, here's another question. So how would who in here is planning on adding another service, another trade, something else for customers to buy? Okay.
Who isn't and why?
Yeah, I was just going to say that same thing. Like, who the hell's not, and why would you never do it? Like, I would
Even
say,
if you partner with somebody, if you don't want to
Yeah.
own it, if you can get the lion's share of the profit, and you could double or triple the revenue value or the profit of a client by doing that. Why wouldn't you want to do that? That gives you, even if you don't want that profit, it lets you spend a lot more money acquiring your own business.
Yeah. Is anybody in a market where Michael and Sons is? Anybody? No? So you are. So Michael and Sons Bassam, he's a very good guy, big company. And Rob and I spent a lot of time with Bassam. He's got planes. We should go fly somewhere. He said he was going to take us for Mexican food or something. But we were there, and we were talking about pens. And Bassam says, oh, you want pens? I'll get you pens from China. And I said, and what I thought there is, like, I think if I said, and he built a company, $250 million in service.
Wow.
I think if I said, do you have steak knives? Yeah, oh, you want steak knives? I'll get you steak knives. Like anything, you want Italian marble? He had a place for Italian marble. Like, you want tires? Like, anything you wanted to buy, right? Yeah. He would sell you. And if you think about it, you might say he's nuts. But to him, it's really brilliant. Because if you can, and that's my next question why I asked that, is Jay, for some of these people, like, okay, so I want to add another service. How do I know what's the right service? How do I know what my customers want? What are some things you would tell them to start doing?
Again, we'll give you a couple of different perspectives. First of all, there's different kinds of services. There's certain services that don't make a lot of money, but they give you many whacks at the pinata. You come back a lot, so you've got first access, and you've got familiarity, you got trust. There are certain services that can be front ends that are easier to get in to start than others. There are certain services that are very lucrative back ends that you can just sort of parcel on. There are certain services that are precursors, that are post or concurrent to when they do yours. There are certain things that are instead of yours, and if you compete with yourself, that's not the dumbest thing in the world. I'll give you an example that's different, but you might can extrapolate it. So let's say that I was in the weight loss business and I sold a supplement. Well, you would say that my competitors are supplement people, right?
Yeah.
You could, but they're not. They're people that sell portion control food. They're people that sell online or one-on-one trainers. They're people that sell equipment. They're people that sell video. They're people that have health clubs. And if I competed against myself, because most people, anybody here ever been on any kind of a weight loss protocol? Did you just do one thing? How many things did you try?
Many things.
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah, the average, same thing with business op. People go into business opportunity. They look at business op. They look at going into creative real estate. They look at option trading. They look at being retrained into a new skill. They look at buying a franchise. And you can do all those, and you can monetize the same prospect you don't buy, or the ones that buy and move on to something else. Now you can extrapolate that. Does that help?
Yeah, 100%. I'll give you a couple things to write down, action items we did. So one, we had a board in our customer service department. And just so you know, any customer that called and asked for it, if they said, hey, do you guys do dental work? We would say, not yet. But I'll tell you what, I can help you find a dentist right now. Hey, you sell pizza? And they would challenge us. I don't know if they're good in it. Do you guys, I need to order a pie. Well, we don't sell pizza yet, but I'll tell you what, I can help you find a pizza pie. Because what I wanted them to hear is not yet. And then they would put on the board. They would write down, someone called for, and pizza's a far example. Somebody says, do you fix window air conditioners? And I used to watch my CSR goes, no, we don't work on window air conditioners. I said, wait a second. If they have a window air conditioner, is there a possibility they need a whole house air conditioner? Yeah, it's a great phone call to have. You need a different conversation. So this one happened for me and Rob. I look on the board. I'd walk in every morning and look at the board. Oil. Do you work on oil? Oil. We don't do oil. We don't work on it. So we said, because one of our guys in the beginning said, oh, oil's dirty. It stinks. So I went to our team of plumbers, heating guys, and I said, any of you guys like working on oil? And 5 guys raised their hand. 5 guys. And I said, well, who wants to do oil? 3 hands stayed up. Now, in the end, these guys, anybody work on oil in here? Do you like oil? You love it. You smell it, right? You love that. It's like aftershave, right? I found out these 3 guys, I think they bathe in oil. They love it. Their truck smelled like oil. But it didn't matter. I said to Rob, find out how fast we could get these trucks fitted out to do oil. I think it was $1,500 a truck or something, right? It's cheap. The next day we were doing oil, and guess what? Oil to gas conversions. Good job or good job? It's a great job. We immediately made hundreds of thousands of extra dollars because of what was written on the board. That's one. Number 2, Jay taught me this. We just surveyed our customers. If there was something that you wanted us to do that you would love based on what you know about us, what would it be? You should send that to 50 customers before you even leave here. Tonight you should do it. Because if you get 1 answer or 2 answers and they say, what if they tell you do plumbing and they say, well, I wish you did water filtration. And you're like, oh my God, we do water filtration. Right? Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? All right, let's get through a couple more questions before Jay heads out. So the next one is, let me see, I want to get a really good one here.
Pardon me.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah,
for them,
go ahead.
if possible. What do you do? Let's say you have this great idea. You know there's something missing in your market, huge. And you know that's going to bring a lot of millions and millions of dollars. And you already know how to create it, but you don't have that blueprint to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So, or someone that can tell you, okay, Diana, I see what you want,
Yeah.
but I don't want to take that step of, step in. I just want to get
That's a
there
great question. Yep.
quicker with people that know what they're doing. It's not a matter of how much it is or anything, just getting that person to see your idea that you're trying to create, because you know they're missing it. And it'll be
Yeah.
something totally new for the market. We're in the construction business, so it's be totally new in the market. Who do you hire? Because you always say, okay, get a coach, get a mentor, and I know everyone that's successful has those 2 things.
Is this something that doesn't exist anywhere, or does it exist anywhere?
Not really.
Mm. Can I share the first part?
Yeah.
I
Go
have
ahead, please.
told people, like, let's say, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need this, I need someone that does this type of field, but it's not the way that we're thinking of creating it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you my answer, and then I'm going to let Jay give his answer, because I've dealt with this a fair amount too. So not all creative ideas will manifest into money. It sounds like a great idea. Rob and I learned something many years ago. We did a lot of Wendy's and TGI Fridays,
Okay.
and guys that own many of them. And I said to the guy, Brad, why here? Why are you putting this store here? He goes, well, let me tell you. We did a market study there. We already know the day we open, this many people will eat the chicken wings. Okay? So first, if it's a non-created idea, you have to make sure that non-created idea, people are willing to buy it.
Yeah.
As someone else really smart told me, sell it, and the minute someone buys it, create it
The thing is
fast.
that we already have people interested.
Okay.
We already have people that are on board. And we
Did they
know-
give money yet?
Yes, they are.
They've already given you
Okay.
money?
They're already giving me money.
Then
But
it's
I
ready.
wanna
They
get
give you
to
money
other
for the
steps.
service or as investors? Which one?
To be part of what we create.
Okay, but that's not buyers of the service.
Yeah, it's different.
No, it is buyers.
Oh, so they would buy it and also own it?
Because it's, okay.
Can
Let
you
me
tell
say-
us what
What's
it
the
is?
service? Yeah.
We hold all the licenses that is in Florida required to do electricity,
Yes.
to do plumbing, roofing, and everything else.
Okay.
We have a lot of people that are missing the subcontractors, okay? And we know a lot of people that they know how to do they know how to do the job. They know, and they have their team, and they're already making money, but there's certain things they can't do because they don't have the license.
Right.
If they join us and we give them the license and we
So they operate under your umbrella?
operate under umbrella and we give them everything back office, they don't know. We had someone that didn't know how to do a change order and missed out on $7,000 because
it.
he didn't do the change order. So we want to educate and get each group along and there's a lot of missing, like a lot of the construction people don't have labor.
Got it.
So if we get these teams to work under us and we teach them how to grow themselves, so pretty much they will be their own company under our company because they're doubling themselves. We are getting somewhat
Yeah.
a cut out of that
Yeah.
because we're giving value to their service. And it's something that is totally missing, and people are taking advantage because it could be Latin people that they don't speak English,
Yeah.
but they have control of the labor.
Got it.
And if we're able to help them and create it, but we have to go that extra step.
So how do you cut the learning curve is what you want to know.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, I only know one way to cut that learning. Well, there's two ways to cut the learning curve, and then we'll hear what Jay has. One, you either partner with somebody already doing that, who already has the model, and buy their model. I'm not a huge believer in franchise, but franchise is a possibility. Or number two, you work with a really, really smart person that can pretty much build anything. I put Jay in that, I put myself in that, I put Rob in that. There's not a lot of really, really brilliant people, but you need someone who understands the industry, understands the problem, understands marketing, understands positioning, understands processes, and understands how to brand and how to go to market with an idea fast to make money.
Exactly.
So you need a really smart person, which is probably going to be easier than finding an existing model in that. Because I know people in Florida that do that with licenses now.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I know people can write out a license, but we
Yeah.
wanna build a structure
Got it.
that people can, and people that wanna stay, because it comes for
Yeah.
them that it's gonna be a lot cheaper for them to stay with us because everything that is in the back office already capped.
Yeah, I think
So
you
we
have.
are gonna keep,
Yeah.
they're not gonna be our employees, but we are gonna have
Yep.
the people, so that's what I'm asking for. Which route would I go? Would that person that can.
Well, I
fit
think,
with me and
see,
say-
I think that, just for me,
Mhm.
let me give you a couple, and these are still gonna be abstract, it's not gonna give you all your answers.
Yeah,
I would say you need somebody who's a supremely great critical thinker who can figure out probability and outcome and what's wrong with this picture, not what's right, because it seems like you have to find them, you have to sell them, you have to get them to sign on, then you have to educate them, then you have to be able to collaboratively control them. And to me, it's got a lot of moving parts, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
I
don't
like it on paper.
Yeah, I think it's a doable idea too. I think you can make
well,
money.
they're knocking the door, so that's
Yeah.
where we saw the opportunity.
Yeah.
That is missing, and then we don't want the GC's contracts, we
Yeah.
wanna bring them the people to do their job,
Yeah.
because we don't want the stress.
And where are you
Build
going to
the
make your
house,
money?
you know?
How many ways are you going to make your money?
Yeah.
The money could be bought in different ways, whatever we are charging them for the value that we created.
You talking about the back room or for the just being
Yeah,
able? Okay,
for the
that's
back
one.
room, and that's one.
All right.
And one is, we used to be in the finance where we know how to sell.
Okay.
Bring people to bring the big jobs, so if they're bringing their jobs, that they usually, but then here, I had a big job, and then right there, the share of the profit will
Yeah.
be, brought different,
How much can you, and then you should all listen to this, because
Uh-huh.
it's a very good process to understand how to break down any idea or anything you do. And entrepreneurs are ultra creative and always thinking of an idea. Have you already calculated what size business this could be and the profitability? Can it be a $50 million business?
Yes,
Can it be
it can.
$50 million? Cool. So here's what I'd give you advice. You're looking at one guy here. I don't know if Jay's interested or not. You're looking at another guy here. I don't know a ton of other really smart strategic guys that can walk through that process. Whoever you do choose to work with, there's going to be a couple models, right? There's going to be a group model. You join a group with a lot of really smart people like me and Rob have. Number two, you can work with Jay. I'm sure he has his own things. Number three, you can find a coach or mentor. He says, I'm going to take, it's a Shark Tank mentality.
Yeah.
I'm going to invest in you. A lot of times they don't even invest money in you. They invest knowledge. And then what they want to do is I'm going to take, I'm going to own 51% of your company. Now I'm going to take a percentage of profit. And then over a period of time, I'm going to own that. Or they're going to own rights to relicense your strategy in other states. So that's the part. And I would just say, interview carefully. Make sure you feel comfortable. Or you could get taken
Yeah.
advantage fastly.
I always suggest, by the way, that you interview. One of my great mentors always said, hire the best and cry only once. But he said, before you hire anybody, interview 3 different ways. Interview at least 10 people on the same thing and listen to how they would do it. and you want to see the duplication and the diversions of answers to see how they think, and you want to see and even if you have to, if they think you're trying to pick their mind, pay them for their time, give them $1,000 or something. It doesn't matter but the first thing is you want to see not just what they tell you they would do, but what do they think is wrong, where they think the difficulty is, how they would mitigate it. And then number 2, if you find somebody you really like, make it a little, if they seem like they're interested, make it a little bit difficult for them to get hired, and see if they're congruent with the way they present themselves when everything is good. The guys that I'm talking about, they wouldn't hire anybody for 6 or 8 weeks. They wanted to see if they called, if they'd say, "Oh, fuck you," things like that, because they wanted to see if they were congruent when it was purposeful. They wanted to see how they're going to be long term, and whether it was superficial, patronizing, or congruent with who these people really were. Because if you're going to put a whole big business that could be worth a lot, an income asset, could be a model to take all over, and you're going to entrust the key to some one person to be the pilot of, you want to make damn sure that person's got great critical thinking, great he or she's going to have to be great at relationship building, because you're going to have to bring people on, great trust building, great empathic understanding of a lot of different things. Yeah, it's much more difficult than one skill set, don't you think?
Yeah. Rob, how much is Sardor doing? About 30-something million? Maybe more, almost 40 million. We have somebody in our group that has no trucks.
Yeah, sure, I know Sardor.
He does a model like that. He's been with us over a year now, and he's going to do, I think, almost 40 million. No trucks. Little different of a model. Lead generation, dispatch the leads, 2 trucks that he doesn't own. So I think there's a real possibility there, and we'd be glad for some of us to talk more over the next couple of days with you. Yeah, a lot of that type of stuff, great ideas, all of you will have. Some people will just take it and make lots of money really fast, and some won't figure it out and it will die, right?
And one more thing, a lot of great sounding ideas have many more spikes or barbs, and what I always want to do is I'd rather test it out before I ever commit long term, because if you're wrong, you can end up getting really deep into it before. So I always want to see if I can get it enough buy-in, enough validation, and you're really selling. In order to help them, you got to sell first 2 or 3 or 4 different propositions at the same time. So it's not just a single sell. And so if you say I'm going to do this, then you got to be able to deliver whatever you sold. So it's got a lot of complexities to it.
It does.
A lot of moving parts. And Sardor, by the way, has a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts.
But if you get those moving parts to work,
I'm not arguing,
you know?
but the point is, and I've seen a lot of cool things work, but I've seen a lot of complex things break down because they were predicated on a theoretical expectation that people would stay in the deal, or people would communicate on everything and make sure they didn't breach or whatever it is, and assumption. If an assumption is incorrect, everything that flows from it is incorrect.
Yeah, and this is great for all of you, because whatever other trades you bring in, you want to go fastest to profitability, right? Jerry's business is called what? American Technical Academy? Yes. Is that Jerry? Anybody know American Technical Academy? Yeah. So Jerry, a warrior of ours, I helped him start the business and academy, and we were able to map it out from idea to execution to profitability really, really fast. Gary Lightfoot, I helped him start Outbound 360, which some of you might want to be interested in that. I don't know if they're coming at all. It's an outbound calling department, a whole division where they could call your customers, sell membership programs. It solves a problem. I helped them build it. Scalability in this is really the most critical part, because if you have a great idea and you can't scale it, then all of a sudden it implodes on itself, like Jay's leading. Like that's why I say not that it's impossible, like we're not going to argue about it, but complexity, you have to say to yourself, is that complexity worth the energy and effort, right?
Yeah, and it may well be, but you can get so excited because your mind probably handles complexity. If you did finance, you understand complex 100%. Issues and variable, and rates and all kinds of different things, and risk and lots of things. But you're dealing with a human element and not necessarily the most stable human element. So just factor that in.
Yeah, and risk and stuff. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, just wanted to say, I definitely agree with that whole residual income mentality where you buy one lead and then you grow on it. So with that being said, I own a construction company currently. We're getting into HVAC.
Yep.
So would you put all your services in one website and pretty much market each tab on each website almost as a landing page?
Interesting. Yep.
And as one company that does HVAC, plumbing, electrical renovations, or would you set it up as one HVAC, plumbing, electrical company and one renovation company, and then we do other services?
Yeah, I think the answer is predicated on whether you're going to start with your own clients or going to go to the outside market. If you have your own clients and they see that you have a suite of services, that's one thing. If you don't, I think you might want to do it vertical, but that's just my take.
Yeah, and is it a competing model, right? So are we going to build one thing that's going to compete against it, or is it two different sectors of customers? So, you know, if you want to serve in, anybody else do remodeling in here? Deb does. Okay, so a bunch of you. So like if you do remodeling for affluent customers and you do HVAC for middle or upper middle class, are these different classes of people, upper
Yeah.
affluent?
Is it going to shoot you in the foot as far as perception?
Yeah, and how do you show one website affluent,
Yeah.
like a black card?
You might want to actually have it be the equivalent of a holding company, not necessarily a holding company, but you're marketing different positions to different segments. Again,
Yeah.
there's not a right or wrong, by the way, but you have to look at all the factors and the again, one of the things that I am very focused on at this point in my life is not just critical thinking, but something called consequential thinking. And it's all about what are the consequences of doing it this way or that way, and what are the forks in the road, what are the, what are probability and outcome, what are the, and if you don't think that way, then you get very, very painfully surprised more often than not.
Yeah, and we're gonna be, and so what we're gonna do in 1 second is I'm gonna take Jay out because he has a car waiting for him, and I want to be respectful to his time. Jay will be back tomorrow with some of my other coaches on stage, and then you guys will get. We'll do some pictures tomorrow.
Yeah,
with
I'll
Jay,
do them. I'll be
because
happy
I checked
to
the
Yeah,
calendar
I'll do it.
for it, and website stuff. We do a lot of marketing in a day and a half. I would ask that question again, and I'll dial in. Did you raise your hand?
I did. I have one quick question.
Ask it, and if we can answer it quick, we'll do it.
I've been reading a book, different type of marketing that says when you're a smaller company like I am, forget the branding right off the bat.
Forget the what?
Forget branding. Don't
Branding.
We're the greatest plumbing company. We are the most honest guys. Sell the product. Worry about pushing your name after you've made a relationship.
Okay.
You see value in when I can't compete with guys who are much older, much more well known.
Oh, interesting.
Sell my individual service as something that I can make unique about that.
Well,
and I
but
can
but
worry
if you're
about
making
more.
it unique, really, it is your brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you're trying to distinguish something preemptive about who or what you are, your brand, or what you do, that is.
I just mean if I'm doing a single promotion, they said the point is pick a promotion, sell that promotion. I'm gonna send out a postcard just
Yeah.
something with something, whatever.
Well,
That's
first
pretty
you-
tactical.
Yeah, you can't do a single promotion.
You really
It's-
can't.
It's not going to work. Second thing, everything's your brand. What you're saying is your brand. How
Yeah.
your dress is your brand. Your voice is your brand. Your customer service department is your brand. Everything is your brand. But I think the more question, and it's the last statement I'm going to make to walk Jay out, is this is the most important thing for all of you to listen to clearly. When Rob and I were a small company, and we would go to a customer, we would say, "You don't want to work with those companies, do you? You'll be a number." And then when we were a big company, we said, "You don't want to work with them. How you know they'll be around, right?" So there is no small and big competitive factor. There's a win on every side. But that's the most biggest thing you should take from this, all of you right now, because if you sit here thinking, you want to be a stealth bomber. By the time they see you coming, it was way too late. And that's what happened for me and Rob. By the time they said, "Oh my God, I see your truck everywhere," there was 100 of them. Because they were, the big guys, they're delusional, they're in their own head. They can't get out of their own head. They walk around, look at me, I'm big. Why the hungry guys, I see a lot of young guys in this room in here. And these young guys, they're gonna outgrow everybody because they don't know any better. Like me and Rob didn't know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So here's what I would do. I want you to put your hands together for Mr. J. Abraham.
Thank you.